Yes, so good morning once again, and welcome to our segment of Take Note. Now, today we have a special guest with us in studios, and we are going to be discussing all things farming, all things food and agri-systems. Now, we have Doreen Aquari here in studio, the program head, Sustainable Agri-Food Systems at CEFROT, and our topic for today is going to be the role of policy in supporting agroecology in Uganda. But of course, before we dive further into the discussion, kindly do send your greetings to the viewers.
Dear viewers, my name is Aquari Doreen, the program head, Sustainable Agri-Food Systems, working with the Center for Food and Adequate Living Rights. Greetings out there, and I love you all. The Sustainable Agri-Food System program is dedicated to promoting ecological agri-food systems and in promoting adequate living rights, specifically the right to adequate food for the smallhold farmers, the youth, and the women.
Okay, Ms. Doreen, just before we dive into that, kindly please make the people understand what agroecology is.
Basically, agroecology is this sustainable farming practices that works well with nature.
Yes.
And according to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, they defined agroecology to mean the science disciplines, a set of practices, and also a movement. However, when you look at this agroecology, it offers an integrated approach that combines ecological science, that combines traditional knowledge, that combines local innovations, and in this we see that we utilize the interactions between the human, the animals, and also the environment. So in that we see that there is resilience of diseases, of pesticides, and also there is promotion of biodiversity. And in that we see that there is also reduction in the use of these extensive inputs, and in turn we see that there is promotion of input reduction on our farming systems. Agroecology actually is responding, it has come up, it is recognized globally and also nationally as a viable solution to the conventional agriculture. That initially our traditional people or the ancient people used to use the sustainable of farming.
Yes.
But later on there is a global movement that came and started telling people that conventional agriculture is the way to go.
Okay.
And that has not addressed the issue of food insecurity. We see that Uganda is facing food insecurity. There is loss of indigenous food. There is loss of food sovereignty. And in this, that even after Uganda having natural resources, we find ourselves facing food insecurity. And this is basically due to the conventional agriculture that is characterized with monocultures, that is also involving use of those expensive chemicals, which involves buying. At the end of the day, they deplete the soils and cause environmental degradation. They also have an impact on our human health. They have an impact on our health. So as CEFROT, we've been working with the communities. We've been working with the local governments. We've been doing sensitizations. We go in the communities whereby we realize that there is this social exclusion. There is also the unequal power, whereby we have the rights holders and also the duty bearers. So our role is to empower the rights holders to claim for their rights. But also we support the duty bearers to fulfill their obligations in ensuring that there is governance, accountability, and the law. Because we realize, whereas there is a set of practice, a science, and a movement, there is a missing link. And the missing link is the law, policy, and the governance. So we are here not to blame, but we want to blend as government, as civil society, and as the community, how we are working. So in our work, we realize that agroecology is the answer to all these impediments, to all these challenges that are facing the agriculture sector. And it is the only way that will remove us from the conventional agriculture and put us back to where we were, but again, also giving economic benefits.
Now you've mentioned something to do with policies. Now my question would be, what are some of the key policies that or key policy areas that the government has actually effectively intervened to support the transition from agroecological farming practices?
There are laws and policies currently in Uganda that the government has worked on, but you find that these laws are not adequate. We have the Constitution of Uganda in the national objectives, Objective 14. It provides, actually, it makes an obligation for government to ensure that people grow and store food. It is an obligation of government. Then also, under Article 8.1, it is under the principles of good governance to ensure that the government also has food that is adequate for people. Those provisions in the Constitution, also Article 39 provides for the health and there are also clean environment for all Ugandans. And I will not leave Article 45, whereby it embeds any right that is being left out, maybe health, anything, that the government is supposed to ensure that Ugandans have those rights. And the fundamental law is the Article 20 of the Constitution that provides for human rights, which are inherent. And you find that a right to food is an inherent right. So when you look at the Constitution, we have the NEMA Act, Section 3, that provides for health and clean environment. Then section from 55 to upwards, it also provides for the ecosystem. And those laws all are rotating around the agroecology because they are supporting the ecosystem. We also have the National Agroecology, the National Organic Agriculture Policy that also talks about organic agricultural farming. So there are policies, and also the Food and Nutrition Policy of 2023. Last year, we were working on some of the revisions. So most of those policies, they are in promotion of agroecology, but you find that they are not implemented. And there are also those laws that, for example, the Food and Drugs Act, it prohibits adulteration of food. However, when you look at that particular law, it was a law that was enacted in 1954 during the Corona time, and you find like it is totally obsolete. Like it does not evolve with the trending, and a lot has evolved in agriculture. So the policies are there, but they are not like being implemented well. They are not embedded in the laws, that we feel government needs to work together with the district, local government, with the different stakeholders, and also involve these smallholder farmers because they are the ones who practice this agriculture. But some of these laws, for example, the Seed and Plant Act, it promotes commercialization of seeds, and this leaves out farmers because the smallholder farmer, you're telling this person all the time to buy seeds. My mother back then, when we were young, my grandmother used not to buy seeds, but right now my mother calls me asking for money to buy the cuttings that they use for making potatoes, which wasn't the case. It is because of these laws that are not working for the betterment of the smallholder farmers that we feel like there is a gap that government needs to work on. If it is these laws,
Yes.
can we see that there is a review? Can we see that there is or we come up with a regional agroecology law, like we are working out, Sefrat is working for the regional agroecology law, but it is at the East African level.
Okay.
Why we are pushing for it, we realize that laws made at East African level supersede these national laws.
Okay.
So the implementation at the East African level is far beyond with these Ugandan laws, because we cannot say that Ugandans have not done anything,
Yes.
or the government has not put in place laws. The policies are there, but the policies are not addressing the rights of the smallholder farmers.
Okay. Now, Ms. Doreen, we have talked about the policies and some of them that actually prevent the smallholder farmers from actually doing what they need to do. Now, how can policies be designed to ensure that the benefits of agroecology, such as biodiversity, conservation, and climate resilience, are recognized and rewarded?
For us to see that there is a realization of those policies, we feel like we call upon government and also civil societies
Yes.
to work with the district local government, because for you to ensure that there is biodiversity, there is economic diversification, and there is also access to fair markets, for you to ensure that there is fairness for these smallholder farmers as into the principles of agroecology, those laws that are already in existence, we need to ensure that they are implemented and they are put in place. As for example, I will use what we're already doing with the districts of Mukono, with the districts of Chiboga and Chankwas, whereby we signed with them MOUs and we tell them how agroecology is a viable solution to this conventional agriculture,
Yes.
and how it will help to increase the economic sense of these smallholder farmers. So in that, you work with the district government to decentralize the laws to the district level, and you ensure that you come up with bylaws, policies at the district and also at the parish level, such as laws to ensure that we call them earth markets. These earth markets ensure that the farmers, once they've grown their products agroecologically, they have a ready market where they can sell these products. And in that, it will bring in diversification. And also in the parishes whereby they stay, these farmers can work with the different stakeholders, different ministries. For example, Ministry of Health can work with Ministry of Agriculture to ensure that the food that is produced by the farmers in the parishes is supplied to the schools to ensure that there is safe access of nutritious food to these children. But again, you're addressing the issue of economic sense to the farmers and also handling the post-harvest the post-harvest losses. You're also handling the issue of food wastage, because during the value chain of the food from the garden to where it is going to be sold, there is a lot that happens. So for you to ensure that there is food, you need to network within the parishes. So we can come up with a community of practices where these farmers can sell to their schools and the school have nutritious food. You ensure that there is value addition, come up with those earth markets still in the same parishes whereby these agroecology products will be sold. And when you come up with those markets, it will be able to address also the issue of food that is sold by the conventional markets. Because when these people who come to buy those products realize that your product is free from anything that chemicals, of course they will be able to come back next time and they will outlive the conventional product.
Definitely.
At the end of the day, we see that the local government is working in integration with the other ministries, and they are pushing. At the end of the day, these policies that are made at the local level, they will be able to ensure that they are also manifested at the national level. And also the extension services, the extension workers, you identify that the law provides every village to have an extension worker, but these people are not empowered. You find an agriculture officer who is supposed to educate the smallholder farmers on how not to use synthetic chemicals.
Yes.
The same person who is having an agriculture shop that is selling chemicals that were banned by the European Union, that is going to be used by this farmer, and it has an implication on our health. So if we can have training, funding research, having learning centers, exchange visits of these farmers to promote the traditional knowledge amongst them.
Now, this also brings us to our next question. What role do international agreements and trade policies play in either hindering or helping the spread of agroecological principles globally? What role does it play, the international policies?
I'll start with the lifting of the ban by the Kenyan government on GMOs. You see that Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, and all the East African community countries are under the East African community. So we have a treaty that governs us.
Yes.
So Kenya lifts a ban, and it goes violating the principles of the East African Treaty, specifically Article 5, 6 on governance, good neighborhood. And we say that this lifting of the ban of the GMOs, whereas it is in Kenya, but it also has effect on what? On Uganda. Because since we are neighbors, we assume that there is cross-pollination of these different plants nearby our country. There will be contamination of our own seeds with theirs. So we see that it is an hindrance. However, as civil society and as CEFROT in particular, we did not sit. We had to go on and sue the Kenyan government for breaking and also violating the principles of the East African Treaty. So we say that that is also a policy or something that came up that is hindering agroecology at the East African level or to the country. Then also we have, when you look at the recent bill of the East African Seed and Plant Varieties Bill. When you look at it, analyzing it very well, you realize that this bill is not in the interests of Africans or Ugandans, because it talks about commercialization of seeds, it talks about breeder rights, and all these things do not favor or do not prioritize the rights of farmers, what we call the farmer managed seed systems, which allows the smallholder farmers to share, say, seeds. It creates all the other laws. They create those offense whereby if you have a seed, you have to buy. And if you buy, you cannot replant it without getting authority from the breeder. So those rights, those policies violate the principles of agriculture. But again, we have policies that promote agroecology. For example, recently we had the CADIP, the Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program. It started way back in, we had the Malabo one, we had the Maputo, we had recently the one here in Kampala. Even when it talks about or interests the African countries to allocate 10% to agriculture, which in turn you'll be able to get 6% of the annual growth sector in agriculture. Still, countries like Uganda in particular, where the CADIP sat in January, you realize that the annual financial budget of 2025-2026 did not even implement what it talked about in the CADIP. The 10% was not allocated, and in the budget we see agriculture was allocated 1.13%. So it is the implementation also back to our government.
Now, Ms. Doreen, I'll have to cut you short. We have only a few minutes left, but kindly give us your parting shots. And in a minute, but also for policymakers listening, what do you think would be the immediate action they could start to foster a more agroecological approach in their jurisdiction? In just a minute.
I feel like right now the agroecology policymakers for the immediate action, I would recommend that first of all, there are some chemicals that were banned by the European Union, but also there is a double standard whereby these chemicals are exported to Uganda. I would request the government, all those chemicals that were banned by the European Union to be scrapped off, and they should stop the importation of those products.
Yes. Because
those synthetic chemicals are affecting, they are hazardous, and they are causing harm to our products, to our health, to our environment, such as glyphosate, mancozeb, because there is also a chemical act that gives the board to restrict the distribution, the sale of those chemicals. Okay. So we wonder, why are they still in the market of Uganda?
Okay.
Thank you so much for listening.
You're welcome. Well, that has been Miss Doreen Akware, the Program Head Sustainable Agri-Food Systems at CEFROT. And of course, we have been discussing all things agroecology.